Welcome back to another episode of What's Your Opinion? Today we're going to cover a story that happened on December 5th, 2020 in Windsor, Virginia, where two police officers pulled over an Army lieutenant and subsequently pepper sprayed him, felony stopped them, and the articles that preceded kind of giving it a racial tone. But as always, there's more to a story than what they show you. We're going to talk about it, and we'll try to figure this thing out. Coming up next on What's Your Opinion? One thing I disagree with is that whenever there's a police interaction with a minority, whether it be African American, Latino, anything, it's always pushed where even if things go wrong, that somehow it was racially motivated. And you have news media outlets that perpetuate this because they're out for a rating. They want you to watch. So what gets people attention other than police racially profiling people? But if you look at the actual evidence, you'll see that a lot of times it's not racial profiling. And I'm not saying it doesn't exist, but in this particular case, after reviewing it, I don't feel that this was racial profiling. Do I think the police officers were correct? In some things, and they were also wrong. Just as well as the gentleman in the vehicle. He was wrong. And we'll go over there, we'll watch it, and then I'll be right back with you. Let's check it out.
Traffic stop at BP.
Yeah, breaking right.
Going back.
Open the window down!
Felony traffic stop.
Put your hands out the window!
Felony traffic stop, 1836.
Put your hands out the window! Turn the vehicle off! Put your hands out the window!
How many occupants?
All units 1013, 804, 803, felony stop. 18 Windsor, 1 East
Put
Windsor.
your hands out the window and turn the vehicle off! Put your hands out the window!
Come around your side.
See your hands! How many occupants in the vehicle? How many occupants are in your vehicle? Open the door slowly and step out. Open the door. Get out the car. Open the door slowly and get out.
Get out of the car now!
Open the door and get out the car.
Hold still. Hold. Keep your hands outside the window. Keep your hands outside the window. Get out of the car now.
Get out of the car.
Now. Get out of the car now. Get out of the car now.
I'm serving this country and this is how I'm treated.
Yo, what? Guess what? I'm a veteran too. I learned to obey. Get out of the car.
What's going on?
Get out of the car now.
What's going on?
What's going on is you're fixing to ride the lightning, son. Get out of the car now. Get out of the car now. Get out of the car.
Sir, just get out the car. Work with us and we'll talk to you. Get out the car.
You received an order. Obey it.
I'm honestly afraid to get out. Can I?
Yeah, you should be. Get out.
What's
Get out.
going on? Get out the car.
Get out
I
now.
have not committed any crime.
You're being stopped for a traffic violation. You're not cooperating at this point right now. You're under arrest
For a
for,
traffic-
you're being detained, okay? You're being detained for obstruction of justice.
Traffic violation. I do not have to get out the vehicle. You haven't even told
Really?
me why I'm being stopped.
Really?
Get your
Get
hands.
out of the car now. Get out of the car.
Get your hands off me.
Get out of the car.
Get your hands off me.
You know what?
Get your hands off me.
Not a
Get your hands
problem.
off me.
Back up
I
there.
didn't do anything. Don't do that.
Sir!
Get out of the car now.
Hey, sir!
Get out of the car now.
Sir, look.
I'm trying to talk
Get out.
to you.
Okay.
I'm trying to
I'm
talk.
gonna talk.
Get out.
Just get out of my car.
Can you please
Get out.
relax? Can
Get
you
out.
Please relax.
Get out of the car right now.
This
Now.
is not how you treat a vet. I'm actively serving this country, and this is how you're gonna treat me.
Back up, Daniel.
I didn't do anything.
Back up.
Whoa, hold on.
Daniel.
What's going? Hold on. Watch it.
Get out of the car. Get out of the car now.
That's fucked up.
Get out of the car now.
Sir, just get out of the car.
I'm trying to breathe.
Get out of the car now.
That's fucked up. That's really fucked up.
Yeah, get out of the car and get on the ground now. You're gonna get it again.
I don't even want to reach for my seatbelt. Can you?
Take your seatbelt off and get out of the car.
Can you please?
Get out of the car now. Listen, take off your seatbelt and get out of the car.
Look, I'm just gonna please.
You're gonna do what you're told. Get out of the car.
Look,
Take your seatbelt off and get out of the. Take your seatbelt off.
look, my hands are out.
Take your seatbelt off and get out of the
My
car.
hands are out.
Don't reach in there, Daniel. Don't reach in there.
My hands are out. Please. Please, look. This is really messed up. My dog is in the back. My dog is choking right
Get
now.
out of the car. Take your seatbelt off. What are you, a specialist, corporal? What are you?
I'm a lieutenant.
Lieutenant, get out of the car. Take your seatbelt off and get out of the car. You made this way more difficult than it had to be if you just complied. Get out of the car.
I'm reaching for my seatbelt.
Fine. Take your seatbelt off and get out of the car. Straight onto the ground. Straight onto the ground.
Ma'am.
Is your commanding officer available?
Down. Let's go.
Is your commanding
Let's
officer
go.
available?
Get on the ground. Get on the
Can you
ground.
please talk to
Get
me
on the
about what's
ground
going
now.
on?
Get on the ground or you're getting sprayed again. Get on the ground.
Can you please talk to me about what's
Get on
going
the ground.
on?
Get on the ground now.
Can you please talk to me
Get on
about
the
what's
ground.
going
Get on the
on?
ground.
Can you please talk to me about what's
Yes, sir.
going on?
You're not.
Can you please talk to me about what's going on? Why am I being treated like this? Why?
Because you're not cooperating. Get on the ground.
Why am I being treated like this? This is really messed up. This is really messed up.
Sir, well, just
This
work
is
with
really, this is fucked up. This is fucked up. This is fucked up. This is fucked up. This is fucked up.
Now, for those of you that are wondering why such a response for a traffic violation, I'll tell you why. This all started a mile before they got to the BP gas station. The officers on patrol observed that his vehicle had no backplate. They initiated a traffic stop, but the lieutenant decided, I'm going to wait until I'm ready to pull over where I think I should pull over instead of what the law requires you to do, and that's to pull over. His excuse was, I saw the police lights. I was afraid. I wanted to go into a well-lit area. Lame at best. But what happened by him doing that, it led to what you saw from the beginning of the video on down. Now, there are other parts to this, but I did want to give you that bit of clarity. Now, the first thing I want to talk about, which I see in a lot of these cases, number one, failure to comply. So my personal advice to everybody out there, family members, friends, you're pulled over by the police, the first thing you should be doing is complying with any instructions that are given to you. Why? Because you are not going to win a case or any battle with the police on the side of a road. It's not going to happen. That's why they have courts for. If you feel that you were stopped or treated unjustly, you have the right to an attorney and you have your day in court. You will not win. And that line I hear all the time, oh, I'm calling my lawyer. I want my lawyer here. Yeah, your lawyer's not an idiot. At least I hope they're not. No lawyer is going to show up on the side of the road and tell the police what to do. Lawyers are not the boss of the police. They are your representatives for your rights if you've been violated or to defend you. They are not overseers of the police. So I hear that so much that I just had to bring that point out. The second issue I had is he was told many times over given lawful commands to exit the vehicle and did not. Instead, he wanted to have a conversation about why am I being stopped, this and that. Listen, I've been in that situation. You follow instructions, you comply, and then you ask your questions. It doesn't work that way. I know some of you might think it does work that way. It does not work that way. The officer doesn't answer your questions on a felony stop. You comply, and then you can ask your questions. Understand this. Again, I refer back to that's what courts are for. You are not in control, not in the least bit. You are not in control. And the sooner people get that through their heads, a lot of these incidences like this one can be avoided. Which brings us to number 2, ego. In this case, ego played a huge role. Let's start with the Army lieutenant. His ego allowed him to make the poor decision to keep driving for a mile after being signaled to stop by the police. Once the police did make contact with him, he constantly reminded him, I'm a veteran, I'm an active officer. Is this how you treat an active officer? The answer to that question is yes. When you're signaled to pull over and you decide you're going to keep driving for another mile, having them follow you, yeah, that's what you get. Then, because he wouldn't comply, because his ego wouldn't allow him to, that aggravated the officers. So I think a lot of what they did was based on ego as well. And what I mean by that is once they were able to visibly see that this Army lieutenant was in full uniform, it had no bearing. Now, you could look at that both ways. Were they right because he didn't comply? Yes. But it's the same when you pull over a firefighter or another cop or corrections officer. You may be at 100 when you're going in because you're expecting whatever, but it kind of goes down when you see, especially if they're in full uniform. But that didn't happen in this case. But in fairness, as always, there's always two sides to a coin. Could that officer ever go into a U.S. Army base and walk around and do whatever he wants and not comply with any rules and get away with that? No. So in essence, this Army lieutenant is out of his jurisdiction. So when you're out of your jurisdiction, you must comply with regulations in that area. And this area is covered by the police. That was what led to him being pepper sprayed and subsequently handcuffed. Number 3, discretion. I think discretion could have been helpful to both sides of this. For the lieutenant, his discretion should have been to pull over immediately, comply with the officers, and a lot of this or all of this would have been avoided. Now, on the officer side, they could have used the discretion. Once they saw, okay, this guy is part of the armed forces. Okay, let's look at this a little bit differently. But I wasn't there. I can't think for them. I'm just basically giving you my opinion as to how I look at things when I was working. And in that situation, like I said, if I pull over a firefighter or another emergency service worker or something, there is discretion there. There is discretion, and, it's a respect thing. And I think that the Army lieutenant felt like because I'm an Army lieutenant, you can't tell me, and he's supposed to have a privilege. And then the officers are going to bite back and say, well, no, you're on our turf. No, now it becomes a measuring contest. But the problem for the Army officers, again, we're not on a U.S. Army base. You don't have control here. You have the same rights as any civilian. And if you comply, a lot of the problems, if not all of them, would have been avoided. And now that brings us to the aftermath. Ultimately, I think that this comes down to accountability. And in this case, Officer Gutierrez, who was seen in the video pepper spraying the Army lieutenant, was in fact terminated. And the problem is, in the society and the climate that we're in now, the police are under scrutiny for everything. So you can't, as an officer, be 99.9% right. You better be 100% right. Because that one single percentage that you're not right is what can cost you. Yes, it's a thankless job, and it's a two-edged sword. You're here today, you're going tomorrow. Now, in the age of such racial tensions in the country involving the police, a lot of these municipalities are not taking any chances. They don't want to take on that fight. So that goes back to what I was saying. You have to be 100% right, not 99.9. We now have a letter from the town of Windsor, Virginia, dated April 11, 2021. It reads, "The town of Windsor, Virginia acknowledges the unfortunate events that transpired on December 5th, 2020 involving Lieutenant Caron Nazario and officers of the Windsor Police Department, Joe Gutierrez and Daniel Crocker. The pursuit and ultimate stop resulted in the use of pepper spray against Lieutenant Nazario by Officer Gutierrez. As a result of this use of force, the department policy requires an internal investigation to determine the appropriateness of such actions. This investigation of this event began immediately. At the conclusion of this investigation, it was determined that Windsor Police Department policy was not followed. This resulted in disciplinary action, and department-wide requirements for additional training were implemented beginning in January and continue up to this present day. Since that time, Officer Gutierrez was also terminated from his employment." Well, Officer Gutierrez lost his job. He was terminated due to this incident. And my final assessment on this is, as an officer, it's almost like you're out there on an island by yourself. And unfortunately, the age of camera phones and, just the climate itself of society with the police, you're out there on your own. You have to use common sense every step of the way without fail. Because unfortunately, this will be the result of what happens if you lapse in any kind of way. Now you're looked at as a liability, and nobody's going to take on that liability. No city, state, or any other municipality. And, unfortunately, this is where we're at. The Army lieutenant, he filed a $1 million lawsuit that's still pending at the time of this recording. So I'll look for updates on that, and I'll bring it to you as soon as I have that available. But with that being said, we've reached the end. And if you have reached the end and you enjoyed this content, please do me a favor, hit that like button. Definitely subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Turn on notifications so you don't miss a video. And I will see you on the next episode of What's Your Opinion?